Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Carole RAMELLA. I am the founder and managing director of GFA Consulting, a company based in Ghana and specialized in fundraising advisory. I haven't prepared any presentation. I really want to take the opportunity of this platform to answer any quick questions you may have. I'm just going to explain why I joined ScaleUp Africa, that initiative. You see, I've been raising funding for SMEs in West and Central Africa for the past 9 years. And I came to the realization that sometimes SMEs underestimate what it takes for their proposals to appeal to potential investors. They believe that it's just about a report. It's just about a business plan. It's just about some figures in Excel, nicely put in a PowerPoint or Word document, and that's enough. Actually, it's not. There is much more that investors, and particularly equity investors, are looking for when they assess any business, and particularly SMEs. And that's what I call the 4 pillars of investment readiness. First, what is investment readiness? Investment readiness is being, as a business yourself, being ready to attract investors, i.e., it positions yourself not just for the transaction, but after. The bottom line for any investor is it possible, if I invest in that company, that whatever story they gave me is going to be implemented on the ground, and it's going to be real, okay? So then it's not that they're interested in more than the story, and the story is what I call project credibility, and that's one of the pillars. But they're equally very, very interested in knowing whether you have gathered the conditions to successfully implement or execute that story or that business plan. And the other 3 pillars that they will look at are the systems and processes that you have in place, the quality of your governance, the quality of your teams, and obviously the project credibility. So I'm going to explain each of these investment readiness pillars to you. Let's start with systems and processes. So systems and processes are everything that you have put in place in your organization to execute your activities in the smoothest possible way. And that relates particularly to 3 areas that are of paramount importance. The first one is your cash management. So how do you make sure that whatever you sell to clients actually translate into some cash at some point into your bank account? Because there is a common trap that some SMEs fall into, is to think that because they sell, they've actually made money. They have the profit. Revenue is not profit. And all of this is theoretical until clients pay. And all of this is theoretical until you have enough money yourself in your pocket, in your bank account, to pay back your suppliers, to pay back your taxes, to pay back your employees. So if you have good system in place to manage your cash, then you're actually sending the signal to investors that if you drop, you investors $2 million, $3 million, $5 million into my business, I actually have the capability to manage this cash in a very careful way and efficient way, and in such a way that the whole business plan story I explained to you is going to be executed on the ground. So that's one critical element. The second element is of systems is risk management, and this is an area that many SMEs underestimate. You are credible as an entrepreneur if you can demonstrate to your investors or potential investors that you understand your environment, you understand what are the risks posed by your environment, and you have thought about ways to mitigate these risks. whether this risk comes from the way you manage your operations or the risk comes from your environment in itself. And that will actually show that you are in a planning mode, that it's not, you don't just react to events, but you actually incorporate the complexities of your environment into a strategy to mitigate all the risks posed by your environment or your operations. So what I do as GFA consulting with clients is really to try to assess the main risks to the business, because if these risks are incorporated in a way or mitigated in a way into the business plan, then it makes that business plan even more credible. So this is another element to consider. And the third system and processes element that is critical is the production of financial information. So by this, I'm talk about, it's not just about having your accounts audited, of course. This obviously, when you want to raise equity funding, for example, it's clearly easier to convince investors of the quality of your financial information when this financial information has been audited by a credible auditor. But beyond that, do you develop budgets? So again, are you in a planning mode whereby you think about objectives that you set for yourself in terms of revenue, in terms of cost, and you review these objectives regularly to make sure that you are always on track. So that's the budget. So that's the budgeting approach. Do you have financial control in place? And financial control is different from accounting. It's not just about reporting inflows and outflows. It's about tracking regularly how you behave in terms of pricing, in terms of volumes, in terms of target margins, and how your actions on the ground adjust to any deviation from what you define as normal level of operation. So these are elements that, again, when you anticipate and you think about your financial control systems, you establish budgets, and you have credible processes to review the works of your accountant, to review your financial statement, to review the works of the auditors. Then you're sending the signal to investors that everything that comes from the way finance is managed in your company is credible. So the process of producing financial information will inform investors on the credibility of that financial information. So that these three elements, cash management, risk management, production of financial information, are what I call systems and processes, the first pillar. The second pillar is governance. And governance, usually SMEs, when I talk about governance, they think about boards. Obviously, having a board is a good sign. Having an effective board is better. So by effective board, it means a board that meets regularly, a board comprised of people, of members who bring value to the business. And this is where the skill set of board members is important. So you have many SMEs with boards comprised of family members, grandmothers, aunties, you name it. So yes, legally you have a board, but actually these boards are not effective. So what you need is to have a board comprised of people who can do what the board is supposed to do, which is protect the interest of the business, even if sometimes it means protecting it against management. And that's where sometimes it can be, difficult, or it could be a difficult conversation, but it's necessary, because ultimately you want your business to be sustainable over time. And when it comes to boards, I've had some clients who always believe that they cannot have they don't actually, they don't see the value that a board could bring to the business, especially when they don't have too much money. Actually, board is a great way to attract key expertise that you cannot necessarily employ because you don't have the money, but you can put them in your board and they can play the role of advisors and give you very, very useful insight without necessarily requesting important, huge salaries, etc. So I believe that SMEs, African SMEs, should really see boards in a different way and try to leverage on the opportunity that boards provide to get critical expertise, which would be otherwise very expensive to get. But besides board, governance is also about good human resources practices. Do you have employment contracts for all your staff? Do you comply with labor regulation? Regulatory compliance is a big part of governance too. Are you up to date with all the licenses, permits, certificates that you need to have to operate in your activity? And another element of governance that I find interesting is what I call business ethics. So it's about understanding, being very clear on any unethical behaviors that you can see in your industry, and positioning yourself or the culture of the ethical principles of a company compared to that environment. And this way, you further make your mission, vision credible, to realistic about the way businesses is conducted in your area, in your environment, and you are firm on the positioning of your company versus these unethical behaviors. And that is something that investors are sensitive to, because ultimately, don't forget, it's about building trust, and it's about convincing investors that you are the right person or the right company to invest in. So this is what governance is about. Now let's talk about teams, the quality of your teams. Your teams are the people, women and men, who will make the business plan credible or real on the ground. They are the ones who will execute that business plan. So the question that investors will ask is, how credible are they? How knowledgeable are they about the industry? How long have they worked together as a team? You see, because don't forget, investors will not run the business for you, right? They will just give you the money and hope that you will make good use of the money and do what you told them that you will do. And they will only believe you if they believe or they value the track record of your team. So you have several elements there. You have the expertise of the founder in that industry. And that's exactly the reason why I usually tell my clients, listen, if you've been into fruit juice manufacturing for the past 20 years, and now you're coming to GFA Consulting to raise money to build, real estate complex, then I'm sorry, but this is not credible, because that's not where you have your expertise. That's not where you have any track record. So as a team, you will never, as a team or as a founder, you will never convince anybody. So either you expand your fruit juice manufacturing business, and then there is something we can talk about, or you abandon this idea, and you obviously abandon this idea of building this real estate complex, or you do it, but with your own money, because no investor will follow you on that. So that's for the credibility of the track record of founders. And then I mentioned that earlier, the length of cooperation or experience of the management team as a team, right? So if you have a founder who has 20, 30 years experience, and then the managers who joined 2 years ago, as a team is not the same as a founder with 10 years experience who has worked with his team for the past 8 years. It's not the same thing. Why is it important? Because investors want to see that you've, as a team, you've experienced difficulties, you've managed these difficulties successfully, ideally. You know, you've succeeded together. That's what they want to see. And they also want to see some form of alignment. They want to see that the business plan or the strategic plan is not just the result of the founder, you know, thinking about his own idea and that's it. They want to feel that any manager in the company has contributed to the business plan and to the strategic plan. Why? Because if they contributed and they believe all in that business plan, then they're more likely to execute it. So this is really, really critical. And that's for management. Oh, I have 2 minutes left. I have to go really fast. Staff management is also key to show that you can communicate with your staff, and you have clear strategy when it comes to recruitment, appraisal, performance appraisal, promotion, and sanction. So this is also something they want to see. Finally, the fourth pillar of investment readiness is project credibility. So this is about explaining why you want to venture into that project, why are you looking to raise funding for a specific project at a specific point in time? Where is the project coming from? How do you back any assumption that you have around this project? Have you done any market studies? Have you done any analysis of your market, of your clients? Because it's one thing to have identify a need, you know, for a particular product or service in a particular country or environment. It's something else to have clients pay for it, right? So your understanding of demand and adequacy between the gaps that you've identified and the product or service that you offer, this is what something that investors will look at. They will also want to understand your marketing strategy, okay? Things will not sell just because they're on the market. I mean, you've just seen this presentation on how to use digital marketing. It is absolutely critical to have to allocate the necessary resources to marketing and to a sound marketing strategy if you want your project to be credible. And finally, investors want to see if you understand your competition, right? Do you know what makes them, what are the strengths? What they do better than you? Do you know where are the weaknesses? This is something that will show to your prospective investors that you know your market, you know your environment, and so your project is more likely to be credible. So I understand that I had to close now. So I hope that summary was clear enough for everybody. So do we have some time for some questions or absolutely not? Yes? I don't know if, okay. I don't know if you have any questions. Yeah, it's possible?
Go for it.
Yeah, okay. So any question for the last 10 minutes that I would be happy to answer? I'm looking at the chat right now. Thank you for all the for all the appreciation. So if I want to go back to ScaleUp Africa, the idea of joining is really to support by doing this business diagnostic and assessing investment readiness in any approach for any business that comes to ScaleUp Africa. And with that investment readiness methodology, you will all get a report, a diagnostic report with clear identification of recommendations to improve your investment readiness profile. And this is where ScaleUp Africa will provide all the expertise, the advisory, the advisors in governance, in marketing, in business development, etc., that will improve your profile so that ultimately your chances of raising funding increases significantly. Okay, so Q&A. I need to look at the Q&A. Where are Q&A? Wow. Let me check. Okay, Q&A. I have. Okay, so there's one question on some investors want a percentage of your company. Absolutely, yes. That's for equity investors. They're taking a bet, right? They're making a bet into your business, and they are willing to make that bet just because they believe in your systems, your governance, your financial your teams, and the project credibility. So in return for that bet, they will get a percentage of your company. So this is where I will say advise, if you are control freak, you absolutely want to keep 100% of your company, you are free to do so. But now think about it. What is better between 100% of a company that is valued 1 million and 20% or 30% of a company that is valued 100 million? The question is open. How do you build investment profile? That's exactly what I explained on let's say you produce financial statements, but they are not audited. So first, one thing that you can do is recruit a credible audit firm to have that audit firm review and audit your past 3 years financial statements, so that the financial information that you provide is financial information that has been audited. So it's already better quality than if it's not coming from an external or an independent auditor. So this is one way. Another way, as I mentioned before, is to make your board more effective. And the beauty of it is you don't even need to spend too much money on that, right? It's just about doing some research, spending some time to identify the rights or the skills that are necessary, then the people who could join your business, and then approaching them and trying to convince them to join your board. And then you have them. So apart from time, really, it's not too difficult. There is a question on what about third sector organization? My organization is a charity. Well, when it comes to charity, it's a completely different world. It's true that everything I've described so far is focused on private sector and for-profit organizations, because investors, especially those who invest in equity, these are private equity funds, essentially. These are financial institutions, and they are very strict processes and very strict investment criteria, and usually they don't invest in charity. Charity fundraising is a different, completely different world, completely different rules, completely different actors. And unfortunately, I don't have that expertise. So I will advise to try to identify those specialized in NGO fundraising. Next question, how do you decide on your advisors, the kind of skill sets? Right. Usually I give myself 1 hour to convince any prospective client of my credibility. So it's about, what I will say, I explore, ask them the approach, right? The approach to fundraising or investment readiness, what they've done. Do they have a specific methodology? Let them describe the methodology in detail. Try also to explore the network, because unfortunately in the world of fundraising advisory, I came to realize that in Africa, you have so many people who just play the middleman, right? So they have 2-3 contacts somewhere, and they get your retainers, they take your documentation, and they try to actually push this to all their contacts. And usually it doesn't work. The companies or the SMEs has paid some retainers, nothing comes out of it. They get frustrated, and when they come back to GFA Consulting, for instance, they no longer see the value of a true fundraising advisor. A fundraising advisor will not accept your business plan as such. Because I consider that if I want to be credible and sell a client's project to an investor, I need to not only understand every single word or figure of the document, but I need to be convinced. So usually when I work with clients, I play the role of the nasty, mean investor to ask the difficult question, to bulletproof the business plan until we come to something that everybody, clients and myself, is comfortable with. Okay, so network, methodology, and willingness to strongly challenge the business plan. This will be, I think, the skill set that you want to start exploring with potential advisors. What are my requirements? Nope. This is to this question. I will invite you to contact me directly. So I will put. I guess my contact details are available somewhere. It will be shared, and feel free to contact me and we can discuss, because it will depend on the project. I don't have there's some instances where if I don't feel that I can bring value, I will just say, no, I cannot help you. So really it depends. So far I have answered all questions, and it's already 2:28. So.
Thank you so much, Carole. That was phenomenal. I think there's one last one from Flora Nzogi. Apologies if I haven't pronounced your name properly.
Okay.
The regulations are different for charities, and you're required to register a responsible person as rep. Also, how much can you take in wages may have a legal cap depending on which country you set up in. It's an interesting kind of take on that. What is your take on that?
Again, it's specific to charities, right? Yes, unfortunately, as I mentioned, I'm not specialized in NGO fundraising, which is really different. So because this is where you want to work with someone who knows that world and who knows what is realistic and less realistic in terms of operating expenses, level of salaries, etc.
Brilliant. So that's
and yeah, it's true. I mean, charities are heavily regulated in most countries, and depending on where the charity is set up, you cannot necessarily source funding from other regions. So yeah, I would really advise to work with NGO fundraising specialists. Cool. There are some out there. There are some.